And once again, great girls. So welcome to our series of lessons. Our lessons, as I always say, they are kept aligned, brought to us by VT Africa Holdings in conjunction with Fibertech and Vastratech, which are their subsidiaries. I would like to invite you today to log on to www.hellosmart.com to take in today's assessment. You sign in. Our ID is 598751. 598751. That's our ID. And you sign, please use your name. Sign up using your name. Then it's 20 past, about 20 past. That's when you start starting our assessment. Remember, I told you yesterday and the day before that we would need to do an assessment mostly on definition, which I have been encouraging you not to cram them, but having covered 3-4 lessons, let's see which ones you get right, which ones still confuse you, but we have been talking about all of the past 3 lessons. It should be very difficult for you to master them. Let's continue with today's work. Let's continue with today's work. We ended yesterday. Who remember where we ended yesterday? Yesterday we ended where we were talking about, we were recapping because we only mentioned about complete dominance and incomplete dominance in our second lesson, if I remember well. Then I promised that we would then look at I promised that we would look at codominance and incomplete dominance, and we work out lessons. So examples is something to do with the 2 dominant types, codominance and incomplete. Who remembers yesterday from my definition of codominance? Now let me start with incomplete dominance. What did I say is incomplete? What did I say about incomplete dominance? Who remember? We say there is no complete dominance on the behavior of the 2 alleles. Neither of the 2 alleles show complete or recessiveness. It's very important to define it. No complete dominance or recessiveness. Not only dominant, doesn't show complete dominance or recessiveness. All right. So in this case, the heterozygous condition is a phenotype that lies in between that of homozygous and the 2 homozygous phenotypes. Right. So if, I hope I'm not confusing you, and I won't, if it's only the heterozygous that lies in between, that means if another individual only has a dominant or a recessive of the same gene, he or she can show the homozygous condition for the particular gene or the recessiveness, if we might want to say so. All right, that's what we say. So I promise that we should look at some examples of incomplete dominance. Remember, by 20 past, we'll move on to our right. I gave an example of a red, sorry, I gave an example of one allele is red in snapdragon flowers. This one, I hope you can see it clearly. Red pigment makes the flowers red. Plants with the phenotype are able to make a lot of red pigment. Correct. What happens with plants which cannot make red pigment? So the other allele, red, sorry, R, the small one, cannot make any pigment. So the flowers appear white. They appear white. Plants with RR do not make any pigment, so they appear white. Good. So that's one extreme, red and white. What happens when there is a heterozygous situation? When there's a heterozygous situation, both white and red make pink in the outcome. So we can only identify the incomplete dominance of either plants or animals in the heterozygous condition, because that's where they merge, they form pink. No one is dominant over the other. Wonderful. Let's move on. There's an example. Before we move on to the example, I want us to, like we did yesterday, but we don't forget, compare the two. Are we following grade 12? Let's just compare the two, which is codominance. Codominance. Let's compare codominance. Right. Let us compare the two. I think that's codominance and incomplete dominance. Right. In codominance, that's where the two different alleles of the gene. I always want us to remember this because we're going to be explaining them, defining them very soon. The two different alleles of a gene are both, always want to emphasize it, fully expressed in the phenotype. So if I am white, you should see white. If the other one is red, you should see red. Both fully expressed in the phenotype. All right. Which means neither of the two alleles is dominant or recessive. And the typical example is the blood group. Our blood groups as humans shows at times the codominant nature of the gene that controls our blood groups. Our blood are or can be A, like group A, blood group B, blood group O. A, B, O. They show a co-dominance characteristic. We would come back to co-dominance, and as usual, solve some genetic problem involving co-dominance. Are we following grade curves? Hopefully so. Right. Draw a diagram to show a between red flowered, and white flowered snap. This is an example of an incomplete dominant situation. Remember, yesterday I emphasized that when you are a co-dominant, because we use the same letters because we are dealing with the same gene. We do not use different letters to represent our alleles. Let us not make that mistake, my fellow grade 12. Are we together? So here is our white and red. So I'm doing what starts first? We start with identifying the phenotype. We are still using the letters from the previous example. So I do not denote them because I've already told you that R represent red and the other R represent white. Okay, so we've already denoted our letters represent alleles. So next step, phenotype for the parents, red and white. Who can tell me what is the genotype of the parents? Obvious, double R, capital letter, versus small following grade 12s. Wonderful. Red and white. Remember, I'm being consistent. I'm using small letters for the other form of the allele, even though they do no dominance or recessive. Good. Next step, gamete formation, R and R, R and R. We are happy with this one, we remember it. Next one, the crossing is the same as they were doing yesterday. Obvious is random one, fertilization. The possible, okay, let me just do them again with my red pen. Here it goes. There it goes. This one. Let me do it better. These are and this one. We get R. This R and this one. Good. We have got a heterozygous situation. Who can tell me what will be the phenotype of the F1, the first generation offspring of our heterozygous parents? Obviously, they will be all pink, because remember, we said the heterozygous is formed by two colors, so they gave us all pink. If this was a dominant scenario, what were going to be the genotype. Sorry, the phenotype. I can throw that question to you. If this was a complete dominant situation, what was going to be our phenotype? Just play around with your thinking. If it was a complete dominance, obvious, they were all going to be red. But you see, they're all pink because they are showing incomplete dominance. Right. This will be fine. Then what happened? A cross between two heterozygotes. So I'm continuing. The two heterozygotes were crossed from the offspring. So which means the pink, the capital R and small r, capital R and small r are fused during fertilization. Remember, we're in plants. Right, that's what we're talking about. So who can tell me the genotype I have given you? The genotype is R and R. Again, we complete our genetic diagram. Following all the steps, do not skip some steps, otherwise you will lose some marks. Gamete formation. There forms my gametes. Right. R and R and R. After gamete formation, what comes next? What comes next is random fertilization, which I've told you we can replace these crosses by a panel. Correct. So what did we get here? Let me do it again. R and R. That's R, R. Okay. This one need to be looking at now. Okay. Perfect. I hope you haven't already stretched your eyes to see somewhere where I don't want you to see at this point in time. Okay. We get R and R. A homozygous condition, a heterozygous, another heterozygous condition, because we've got R, a big one, and then we have got a homozygous condition of RR. Who can tell me the genotype of this F2, generation 2? Because we bred the offspring of F1, they will give generation 2. Who can tell me the offspring? Obvious, red. Next one. Next one is pink. Next one, pink. What about the last one? It will be white. Right. One red, two pink, one white. Again, great. If this was a complete dominant scenario, I'm just helping you to understand the difference between we are crossing two heterozygous conditions. We are supposed to get which ratio? A monohybrid ratio of 3:1, which means it was going to be red, but it's a incomplete dominance. So we are getting a different outcome of one red, two pink, one white. That's good. I'll give you a problem to solve involving an incomplete dominant. Here we go. I promised you an activity. So let us get ready for our activity. It's loading on. Use the details that I've given you to log on to attempt activity. It's a 15-minute activity. We should be done by 22. A minute plus on each. Okay. I'm sure by the time it finishes to load, so just attempt the questions. I'll give you 2 more minutes to complete after so we ended 12:40. Good luck. Thank you so much. Great. Thank you for attempting the activity. Let us quickly go through it and see let's quickly now. Let's quickly go through the activity. Okay. Right. The first one. First one says the number shows okay. Okay. Let's start the equation. See the first one, genetic composite or makeup of an individual is the genotype. The genetic makeup is the genotype. Okay. This question. No, we just want to quickly go through this question. Seem to have opened so many windows for it. Let's wait for it to load. Hope it to be quick. Or we can use the other version of it. Let's see if we can use the other version of for the loading that is taking long. Let's see if we can use the quick version of it and we quickly go through the questions together. Let's wait for it to load. Please make sure over the weekend you go through your examples, genetic problems involving codominance. First start with those in incomplete dominance, move on to those involving codominance. And let's see if we can win. If we can win, then all good. If we can't, again, okay. Alternative form of the same gene, same one, they are called genes. All right. Some network problems on loading. It's all right. What we do next with PM, we'll quickly go through to you and we can see where we get it right or where we get it. So I'd like to thank you very much for joining me on today's lesson. As I said, we meet on Monday at Sample at 2 p.m. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you so much.